everyone, I'm Nivina Maniraj, your host, and welcome to another episode of RHB Money Chat, where we provide you with tips and insights on how to better manage your finances. Joining us this week is Mr. Jeffrey Ng, Head of Group Business and Transaction Banking, RHB Banking Group, and our topic of discussion today is navigating your business through COVID-19. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Jeffrey.
Thank you for having me today.
Okay, Mr. Jeffrey, let's get right into it. So to kick things off, maybe you could start with elaborating on what are the consumer trends that you have noticed have changed since the outbreak of COVID-19 in March 2020.
Sure, Nibina. So as we all know, many countries across the world is going through their second or third wave of infections, right?
That's right.
So over the last 11 months, there have been a few key trends that have emerged. One of which is actually continued self-isolation. So people are spending a lot more time at home.
That's right.
And then obviously that has changed a few behavioral patterns among people, right? So a recent survey done by one of our partners, right, have shown that more than 50% of Malaysians say they spend a lot more time on social media.
Right.
Obviously.
Obviously.
They've spent 50% of them spend more time on home entertainment, video on demand. They socialize a lot more using video platforms.
Right.
And of course, a lot of them work from home today.
Correct.
Right. So all of these behavioral changes and patterns have a significant impact on retail, especially. And businesses should consider a few factors in assessing where their business is at this point in time.
Right.
One of which is basically how do you actually reach out to consumers? Right? Because obviously currently there's an explosion of digital and online marketing. Are you on it right now today?
Yes.
Right? Is one of it. The other one is basically reviewing your store formats. Right? So a study by Nielsen in the US and Europe has shown that large stores with high foot traffic and population seem to be having a reduction in sales, whereas stores that are in the neighborhood locations are actually increasing in sales.
Right.
And that's really not surprising because as a lot more people work from home, they tend to visit their neighborhood stores a lot more. Right. Obviously, there are also changes in behavior, like going for takeouts rather than dine-ins. And as a business, all of these things should be considered.
Correct.
But besides that, a business should also look, take into account the change in buying behavior, where a lot more people are going online, right?
Correct.
Global data survey has shown that they expect a 24% increase in e-commerce sales in Malaysia.
Wow.
At about 30 billion for 2020.
All right.
Right. So these are really significant trends that businesses should consider in rethinking their business for the future.
Correct. Next up, okay, in your view, how has the pandemic impacted the Malaysian market, and what specifically are the efforts of the government of Malaysia that they have put in place to help with its recovery?
Okay. The movement control order has taken a toll on all economies, including Malaysia, right? And the Malaysian economy shrank quite a fair bit in Q2 at about 17.1%. The good news is that we have actually seen a bit of recovery where the contraction has actually narrowed to 2.7%.
Right.
For the Q3 of this year. We can also see some positives. The industrial production index has, over the last 3 months, have actually been a positive compared to 2019.
Okay.
The retail trade over the last 4 months have actually narrowed its contraction. And in fact, the month of September actually saw a 1% increase comparatively to the previous year. So all these are good signs that we are heading towards the right direction.
Right.
I think it's a question of sustainability.
Correct.
Right, going forward. So in terms of help from the government, what you can see in the most recent budget is obviously the government is trying to provide more for the vulnerable segments of society. I think there's easily more than 10 billion in financial assistance. What we will also find is there are some schemes to help businesses continue what they're doing, right? In terms of an extension of a wage subsidy program that was already in place, now it's been extended further. You can also see financial assistance being given in a sense that there's a 10 billion increase in government guarantee scheme for SMEs, 3 billion under Dana Jamin for mid-tier companies and corporates, right? And also 1.2 billion for the micro enterprises in Malaysia.
Okay. Next up, maybe you can share with us some of the financial schemes which have been introduced by the government of Malaysia targeting the SMEs to help them get back on their feet again.
Okay, so since the start of the pandemic, we have seen the government introduce a couple of schemes, namely special relief financing and also Penjana. And most recently, for the month of December, Bank Negara has actually launched a scheme called TRRF, Targeted Relief and Recovery Facility.
Okay.
It's a 2 billion ringgit fund where SMEs can have access to up to 500,000 in financing and micro enterprises up to 75,000.
Okay.
The good thing about this financing is that it comes with a 6 months moratorium and also at a subsidized rate of 3.5%.
I see.
Yeah.
That's a really good scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. And because the scheme is guaranteed by SJPP or CGC, then the SMEs don't actually have to come up with collateral to have access to it. But besides that, businesses need to be aware that there are other schemes that are available as well, Bank Negara schemes, right? Many businesses are not aware that there is a scheme called AES, All Economic Sector Scheme. There's 2 others that are called Automation and Digitalization Scheme, and also Agro-Food, right? Businesses need to find out more about this, as if they can have access to some of these schemes, then they actually have access to cheaper financing to run their businesses, right? On top of that, there are also government guarantee schemes, where companies can actually tap on when they request for financing from banks like ourselves, right? One of it is called Perihatin Government Guarantee Schemes. SMEs actually get to cover their financing requests of up to 20 million at 80% coverage.
I see.
Right. And Dana Jamin is actually specifically for mid-tier and corporates, where you can have coverage up to 500 million worth of financing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question is, can you share with us what are the key factors that the SMEs absolutely have to consider right now when they're doing their rebuilding?
Okay. So in times of uncertainty, the most important aspect of running your business is your cash flow.
That's right.
Cash is king during times of uncertainty. So every business is essential for every business to actually have a detailed cash flow plan for the immediate future and probably over a period of a year or so, right? Every business should have a clear idea of where their inflows will come from in terms of sales and receivables. What are the expenses and obligations that they have to pay for over the coming months, to determine whether there are any gaps that they have to fill within their business. So now, if there are cash flow gaps for their business, then certain hard business decisions have to be made. Do you dispose of some non-core assets that you potentially might have? Right? Do you actually tap on supply chain credit if you have? Or do you reach out to your bank to see whether they can give you some temporary funding? Right. So on this note, I feel it's important for businesses to keep close to their bankers at this point in time. When a bank understands your position more and your plans that you intend to put in place, there's obviously a higher chance of getting access to working capital for your business, right?
And the next and final question is, business digitalization has been widely discussed topic since the start of the pandemic, obviously. So can you share with us your views on this and what this entails specifically for SMEs?
Okay. Digitalization of your business is no more an option. It's a mandatory requirement, and this pandemic has actually accelerated its adoption.
That's right.
So we spoke about making sure that your business is online at this point in time, and for me, it's extremely crucial at this period of uncertainty. But what's more important is that there's also a need to digitize the back end of your business, right?
Correct.
And by digitizing your back end, you can actually automate a lot of processes to reduce costs. It will allow you to have real-time access to information so that you can make better business decisions.
Right.
And it will also allow businesses where the workforce can actually work from home and can still operate remotely.
Correct.
And I think that's key, right? One important aspect of things is that a lot of people feel that digitalization is very expensive. Well, it's not the case today. There are many, many digital solutions that are on a variable basis. You pay per use. And as your business grow, obviously you have to pay a bit more. And then at one point in time, you can choose to actually put one to buy it on your own, right?
Right.
And obviously, businesses also need to get their workforce ready so that they can work from home at any point in time.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think you raised a really good point, Mr. Jeffrey, in the sense that I think a lot of businesses at this point, they are looking at how they should digitalize their products, but I don't think they put enough emphasis on their back end. So I think that's a really good point that you raised. Before we end our session for today, is there any last bits of advice that you would like to share with our viewers?
Right. So as I mentioned just now, always keep your cash flow close. It's very important for business owners to be very, very well versed and has a good grasp of their situation at any point in time. Right. Have a think through on digitalization. It's not as expensive as we think, right? And there are a lot more benefits that will come out from it.
Correct.
And lastly is to stay agile, right? Because the environment is very uncertain. Things change in the blink of an eye. So it's quite important to be able to navigate your business and adapt.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jeffrey. It's been a pleasure having you with us.
To be here.
And for our viewers at home, if you'd like to find out more on how RHB can help you grow your SME, please follow the link below. Or if you have any questions for us, please feel free to comment and we'll get back to you. Don't forget to share this video with your friends. And until the next episode, stay safe and I'll see you again soon.